Welcome to the Carolina Weather Group, streaming with you live on Facebook and YouTube on this Wednesday, April the 29th, 2026. James Brierton in Charlotte, Ricky Matthews in someplace over there in the coastal area of Virginia, Norfolk, Hampton Beach. I don't remember. One of
Yeah, I mean,
those.
we're close enough, right? I drive into North Carolina every once in a while, especially around Memorial Day when it gets really nice down the Outer Banks, and my wife and I make our usual trip around that time. But yeah, we're up in the Hampton Roads area near Norfolk, Virginia Beach.
Yeah, what's a border? Who needs a border?
Can't see borders in space. The astronauts just told us that, remember?
That's so true. It's so true. Frank Strait will be along in a few minutes. We're going to talk about Frank and I got together in real life, Ricky.
Whoa.
You know, most of the time we don't ever see each other outside of these cubes, but we got together in real life. We'll talk about that coming up. And I know you're going to talk about the forecast for the Charleston Air Show, but we got the radar on the screen right now because that's where we're going to start on this Wednesday night. Our first warning of the day. And we do have a marginal risk out. So I was beginning to grow weary on whether or not we'd get any warnings. But 9 o'clock at this hour right now, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued at the top of the hour for Rockingham County in North Carolina and Caswell County in North Carolina. This is just south of that, that made up border with Virginia we were talking about. It goes until 10 o'clock for this severe thunderstorm, which was located near Stoneville, moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. Hazards with this storm include 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail, and we can begin to show you that here on radar. So we actually have more rain than is just inside the polygon, and I point that out, Ricky, because with the drought being what it is, I think everybody wants the rain. What we don't want is the potential for some strong winds or some hail, and that's what's coming inside the yellow polygon that the National Weather Service has issued. So looking first at the winds, we can see radar indicated here. We do have at least 43-mile-per-hour winds, and we are a little distant from the radar site too. So that's always a decent estimate, but we'll wait for some ground truth. But it's the hail on this one, Ricky, that I thought was interesting because we are getting what looks to be some hail maybe in Wentworth at this point.
You can even see it on the reflectivity if you go back to that in a minute. I mean, it's indicative of a pretty strong thunderstorm right there. A little pink that's showing up to the northwest of Wentworth. That's a hail core, which looks to be around only around 3,000 feet really in elevation. Mm-hmm. So that's hail that's not that far off the surface, as you go up. I mean, elevations, I think in Reidsville are what? Probably around 500 feet.
Sea level elevations or elevation from the radar beam?
Well, so it's elevation from the radar beam. So in theory, the one in the radar in Roanoke is probably a little bit higher too. So I mean, it's still probably 3,000 feet up. I would argue. Or
I would imagine it's starting higher, right?
Yeah, probably is my thought.
Let's try the Raleigh one.
It may be a little bit higher too. And Raleigh, I wonder what that was. I've got GR.
Raleigh's got us about 4,500 feet up.
Yeah, so around 3,000 to 4,000 feet.
Yeah.
And the thing is too, that's the one thunderstorm warning at this time. If you zoom out a little bit, there are some other storms to the north in Virginia near Roxborough, and then eventually some up near the Charlotte's Courthouse, Boyton area, near eventually approaching South Hill. So there were some indications, this would kind of be our main line of storms that kind of pushes south and east. I don't think the stuff near Petersburg will do anything, and eventually maybe clip the far northeastern part of the state. But for the most part, I think it's kind of from, let's say, Roanoke Rapids, maybe as far over towards the east as Gates and Hertford, if we get lucky, and Bertie County. But, maybe the Raleigh-Durham area that sees the majority of these line of storms as they push off towards the south and east. It's kind of odd to be rooting for thunderstorms. I don't want, severe storms, but I definitely think all of us would be okay with some rain. And we have a question that came in too about York County, South Carolina. And look at that, right over the metro of Charlotte. You got something popping up too.
It's so funny. So I was at work until about 7 o'clock today. And when I left work, there was a storm. Storm's the strong word. There was rain about the same spot over northern Mecklenburg County. And I just sat down and I immediately was like, is my radar image old? Because these folks are getting rain now, I think, for the second time tonight. I don't see any lightning associated with it.
Lottery tickets.
What was that?
Get some lottery tickets.
You get some lottery tickets, right? Yeah. You're lucky enough you get rain once. You get it twice. Man, you're really winning. But in terms of York County, we don't have anything on radar right now. We were wondering if this morning we were going to get any more rain. We really didn't. Then we were wondering if any of the daytime, He got warm. The dew points rose a bit this afternoon. We were wondering if we were going to get anything this afternoon. We really didn't. But now that the cold front is pushing through a little bit closer, we're finally getting a few storms. And this does line up with, if I can remember where it is, the day one outlook here from the Storm Prediction Center. As it loads onto the screen, we did have a marginal tier one over portions of the Carolinas. It's not loading. Or I've done something horribly wrong, or they've taken it away. Did they take it away?
For the marginal, it may have been taken off at the 8 o'clock update, which it was, and that it's always par for the course, right? We used to joke in the Carolinas that when you're not in a marginal, that's when things start popping off, or when you're in a marginal, that's when everything goes haywire. So it's just par for the course tonight that they remove the marginal and then the storms start developing. So
yeah, I know it feels like a constant tug of war. When Frank hops on, we'll maybe talk a little bit about the presentation we got yesterday from the Storm Prediction Center, the SPC, at that in-person meeting that Frank and I went to here in the Carolinas, because I feel like I have a little bit better understanding of the things that they're introducing this year, and we can talk more about that coming up in a bit. But try to get my head wrapped around all these different tiers and things. But again, if you're just joining us here at about 10 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour on this Wednesday night, we have some rain moving through the Carolinas, and one of those storms is severe, and that is this storm right here, again, now over Wentworth. That's probably where the heaviest rain is, and it's coming into Reedsville here. It's probably already raining on the north side of Reedsville. The warning goes for another 45 minutes, essentially the duration of our show, back to 10 o'clock at the top of the hour, for 60 mile per hour winds and quarter size hail. And we'll monitor to see if we get any storm reports. But, it seems, based on what we're seeing on radar, that we do, in fact, probably have some hail in this storm making it down to the ground. And we can look at that high rapid refresh model for the rest of tonight, Ricky, to see what else we might have in store. Let me pull that up on the screen.
I was looking at it off screen here on just a different source. I think it's doing a fantastic job of representing kind of what's happening now. So I'm looking at the 0Z run. I don't know which one this is.
I'm
here.
on the 0Z run, which is about 33% loaded in here to the
Look at
College
that.
DuPage site.
Look at where it has the thunderstorms. Yeah, placement's off slightly, but that's not bad.
Even the tiny little one over Charlotte's there.
Yeah, exactly. So advance it out. Let's just go 2 hours here. Which would put us closer to the 10, 11 o'clock hour, and boom, look at that. We can hope for that, I think.
There could be folks going to bed who don't even know that rain's coming, and you lay down and you're like, did you turn on the white noise, or is that actual rain?
When it comes to fruition, will it? We'll see. But the hardest part, I think, has already happened. We've got the forcing with the front coming in to get the storms to initiate. And sometimes once you get a couple storms going, you can kind of get them all going. And so let's hope that's kind of the case here, and we get some thunderstorms and just really beneficial rain to move through a large part of the state over the next 2 or 3 hours. And it's nice that this is coming through in the nighttime hours too, because it really lets the ground absorb what little rain there probably will fall out of these, compared to if it was falling, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun hits it quickly after and it just all is gone real quick. But like me trying to grow grass in my backyard right now, and I water it in the evening hours, I'm like, okay, maybe it'll still be wet tomorrow and I don't have to put as much down.
I did the same thing because we have voluntary water restrictions here in Charlotte, and so I watered pretty early in the morning, knowing that was going to give it its best chance of soaking in without that afternoon sun beating down on it. I think I'm allowed to water twice a week if I'm following the recommended guidance. And we are starting to see, again, some rain that's moving in, and we'll get the screen share back up here and kind of show folks what it is that we're looking at. Join the chat, I guess. If you have any storm reports, we'll check in with the National Weather Service in a moment. I will say that rain that we got yesterday morning here in Charlotte, Ricky, was kind of overperforming. We thought this morning was going to have lots of rain. It kind of underperformed. We didn't really have a lot of rain in the forecast yesterday morning. It kind of overperformed, but I got like a third's worth of my month's rain yesterday morning when I got 2/10 of an inch of rain. That is how little rain we've been able to pull off here in April.
It's just been one of those time frames, and this hasn't even really been a flash drought. It's really been a prolonged drought,
Sure. Right.
It seems like, at least. Although tell you what, I was Googling something today about water stuff here in the Hampton Roads area. And I was looking back at water history and I was trying to find the actual boil water notice from Isabel because I thought we had one during Isabel up in our area. But when I Googled it, it came up with a 2002 water restrictions.
Oh,
And when we had those, we had drought conditions in the late 1990s, like 1998 or 1999, that lasted all the way through 2022. And that's what finally put us like under the restrictions in our area. Um, at the coast, I feel like it's a little less common to get severe drought conditions than it is in the inland areas, just with kind of the way the tropical systems seem to flow and everything like that. But we had one year, it was 2002, when Eastern Virginia was in voluntary water restrictions as well. And I can't prove it, but I can assume that a large part of North Carolina and Virginia were too. Somewhere we can go back and pull the drought logs and see what the maps, if they were doing them back then, looked like. But I would imagine that, usually if the eastern part of the state's included, the western part of the state is included as well. So
watching radar here, it looks like a little bit more rain is trying to force its way up just on the west side of King, North Carolina here. So we could see an expansion of who exactly is getting precip tonight. And the National Weather Service in Raleigh, who is awaiting the arrival of this rain, put out a kind of a timing map that we can show you here for the next couple hours. So if you're watching live with us right now, this will be hot off the press for you. Kind of give you an idea of when we think some of this rain, this line that we've been tracking here, is going to roll on through. So again, right now we're seeing it just kind of north of High Point up to the Danville, Virginia area. They had forecast that for 9 o'clock, just after that 8:20 p.m. line. Their next line is 9:20 p.m. Eastern time, which we're quickly coming up on, and that'll bring it a little shy of the Burlington area. But we could look for it coming into Asheboro and Raleigh and the Triangle region there by a little after 10 o'clock. And if it holds together, like Ricky and I have been talking about, looking at that HRRR model, maybe into Rocky Mount at about 11:20 or so. Their information, Ricky, does also include an interesting description of what impacts we could expect to see with this storm. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of read the partner message here that they put out, and it came along with this graph here that they're watching here, this convective line moving through ahead of the cold front. And you can see that these storms could be capable of 30 to 50 mile per hour winds, small hail, maybe pea to penny sized, and perhaps maybe a brief short-lived tornado. They said the most likely scenario for tonight is that a few areas could see showers, isolated storms over the northwest to southeast across central North Carolina with light to moderate rain and a few rumbles of thunder, which we're already seeing here. They're putting the probability of that at about 40 to 70% chance with limited severe hazards. I think a lot of folks may not even get rain, never mind severe, but the few people who do are going to hear that rumble of thunder. The upper end scenario, the less likely scenario, is that the heating boundary and instability axis currently draped across the northern Piedmont, which is the picture we have on the screen right now. The storms that track along or near that boundary may become locally strong to severe and produce more impactful hazards, again, such as that brief tornado, larger hail, or even stronger winds. This scenario is far from a sure thing, they said, but highly conditional on several factors, but something they and we are keeping a close eye on.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the mesoscale analysis. I'm curious where that warm front's located now. Yeah, well, so you look at the parameters. Give me a second, and I'll try to share my screen here. And forgive me for being a newbie coming back here and having to
We were
remember
back
how to
on
do
Google
that.
Hangouts in your day.
Yeah, exactly. What is this thing? All right, so give me a second. We'll share a screen. And
Newfangled technology. Okay, I got your screen here.
All right. So this will be the SPC Severe Weather Parameters website. So what you're looking at here is what we call Supercell composite parameter. And in layman's terms, this is a bunch of different weather factors that we put together, and it shows us the potential for stronger storms. So you notice there's an area of 2 to almost 4 here across a large part of central North Carolina and South Carolina. So this tells me that, if a storm could get going, it could turn strong to severe, kind of what the Weather Service in Raleigh was talking about there. One of the reasons for that is there's a little bit of wind shear, not a ton in the lowest level. That's why I think the tornado threat isn't that high. But there's around 30 knots of wind shear from the surface to 3,000 feet, and then a decent amount, 40 to 50 knots as you head a little bit higher up. So storms have a little bit of something to work with. Cape is one of the limiting factors, I think. There's not a lot of instability. In fact, the atmosphere is kind of becoming a little capped here. Let's go back in time. Yeah, it looks like it's becoming more capped than it was, which is basically just negative thunderstorm energy that develops. But sometimes the storms can like erode that cap as they get going. So we'll look at that, and I want to look at the lifted index too. -4, -5. It's not too bad. So once again, if the storms can break through and get going, perhaps we can manage to get a few of them sustained, at least for a few hours. So I think it's worth watching, James.
Yeah.
The parameter, nothing really too interesting there. FTP is pretty much less than 1 in majority of the areas. So I don't think the tornado threat is that high. I think
pretty low,
especially with the way the storms are kind of configured. You're probably looking more at just some downburst winds and maybe an isolated hail core. Especially if these things start to congeal into more of a line, you're probably looking at just more of a wind threat when the clusters of storms go up and then they eventually collapse back down. What we call kind of multicellular thunderstorms. So as we go through the next few hours, we'll watch that as it progresses off towards the east. But the nice thing is this is not our only rain chance across a large part of the state over the next couple of days. If you give me a second, I'll pull up.
While you do that, I'll tell viewers
rain.
they're looking here at the weather stand camera at the University of Charlotte, University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And as you've been talking, I've seen the rain pick up. The visibility did drop down a moment ago. And that's just as this heavier band of rain moves through. I did see just a moment ago a lightning strike associated with this storm that is now over the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And I can show that to you here. The heavy rain band just over here over northeastern Charlotte, but we're actually seeing lightning out ahead. There's this other little area that's out towards Harrisburg, out towards the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We actually have 2 lightning strikes there. There is some rain nearby, but Ricky, again, it really had me thinking about how lightning can strike further away from where the heavier rain is and maybe catch people off guard.
Yeah, we first off, shout out to UNC Charlotte. That's where I went. And so love that we have a camera there. North Deck was always a fantastic spot for watching storms. It's a big parking lot kind of on the edge of campus. So we used to always go up there and watch all the storms. But you're right. That's why we always say, if you can hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning. And the reality is most people don't get inside until it starts raining. And then the bolts out of the blue or bolts basically on the leading edge of a storm are the ones that end up getting them in trouble. So it's always a good idea if you can see ominous skies approaching to head indoors, especially if there's a good chance of thunderstorms in the area. But that camera, I think that camera is located over near the football stadium, maybe?
I think it is too.
Yeah. There used to be another camera there at one time that was located on one of the College of Health Sciences or something like that. It was kind of more towards the central part of campus. Pull it up and see, but there were 1 or 2 at the time. Maybe they moved it since we were there.
This probably has a full-blown weather stem station with it too, so I'm sure we could actually get localized wind and temperature and all that jazz.
So thunderstorm, 74 degrees, rain rate 0.2 of an inch per hour, or 0.2 per rain last 24 hours. Rainfall rate is 2.16 inches per hour. So that's cool. Wind hasn't been too significant, at least on the site there, but this is the camera located at the football stadium, Jerry Richardson football stadium at UNCC. So that's cool.
Just got another lightning strike from that storm. It's on its south side now too. So not only is it kind of overachieving on the east side, but now we're getting some lightning strikes south of Albemarle Road in Charlotte as you make your way down towards Mintail and Matthews. So again, that storm not severe right now. Lightning not being a criteria for severe, but we are continuing to watch that severe storm that is up closer to Virginia, which they did just update that on the radar map, and they kind of redrew the polygon, and I got it on the screen right now. The heaviest rain and likely hail core now moving through the Reidsville area. This other polygon box that extends out ahead of it, which does include Greensboro, Burlington, and Roxborough, that is a special weather statement that is actually issued by the National Weather Service in Raleigh, kind of giving an early heads up to those folks in that community that they're watching a strong storm that could be severe by the time it gets into those areas. So we'll watch to see if that yellow polygon box gets extended. Shout out to TBR528, first time viewer watching us over on the Carolina Weather Group YouTube channel. Thanks for checking us out. Ricky, I know you've got something on your screen share that you were going to show us a moment ago.
Yeah, so this is the future GFS model. I'm showing you this because I as we mentioned, this is not our only rain chance over the next really couple of days. Unfortunately, this rain chance is likely going to move into the area over the weekend, but we'll take you through Friday into Saturday, maybe an isolated shower or two across parts of the South Carolina, maybe Georgia border area as we head through Friday. But a lot of the rain approaches late Friday night and into Saturday. So as we're watching this map, basically a little area low pressure is going to form here along the southeast and swing through the North Carolina and South Carolina area. This is going to be great beneficial rainfall, especially as we get into Saturday afternoon. It quickly departs, and by Sunday, we're looking at sunshine once again. But for Saturday, we could have a rainy day, especially I think from Raleigh east and from parts of the Charleston area, Columbia area, Outer Banks, Wilmington area. You guys have a pretty good chance for some rain on Saturday. Let me turn you over to the European model, which is even more aggressive with the rainfall in terms of the amounts. We look at Saturday. This is Saturday morning around 7 to 8 a.m. And you can see that heavy batch of rain approaching, probably some thunderstorms associated with this too. And look at how that blows up, James, as it makes its way across the Carolinas. And really that low intensifies faster, resulting in some heavier showers and storms. Probably not, anything crazy severe storms, I think, but a good chance of some heavy downpours and some soaking rain, which, as you mentioned earlier, is good news for the drought. Not great news for some other things going on this weekend.
Yeah, I would say that's Saturday, so that's going to overlap some with the Charleston Air Show, right?
Yeah, so the Charleston Air Show officially kicks off on Saturday. It was supposed to be a base air show, and then with the increase in military security standards, they have pushed it now to be a one-day show officially over the Charleston Harbor. Here's the catch, though. I'll give you a little inside scoop of some air show news here. So the show is officially only on Saturday. However, on Friday, or typically the day before, is what we in the air show industry call practice day. And so it's not an official show day. However, if you were to go down, let's say to the Charleston Harbor, let's say around, let's look at the TFR, around 12:30, probably have a pretty good chance of seeing something, especially if you hang out through the afternoon. The Blue Angels will be practicing on Friday. Then on Thursday, they come in and they do what's called circle and arrival maneuvers. So at noon, typically is when they do their first circle and arrival maneuvers. And at first, the diamond will go out. So the four planes flying together will go out. And you'll probably see them come in, maybe do one or two maneuvers, and then they'll separate into two pairs. And what they're going to do is they're actually going to fly across the harbor. You'll see them, some of them high up, some of them a little bit lower altitude, and they'll basically just zip left and right across the harbor. And what they're doing during that time frame is finding things on the ground that they can use as a visual reference during their demonstration. So you hear them say, 1 mile mark, and then I've got a red barn with a green roof or something to the side of it. Or with Charleston, they'll say, I've got a tall building with black windows on the top, or I've got a skyscraper over here to the left side. And what they're doing is they're getting visual references that they can then use as guide points during their demonstration, especially at 1 mile, 2 miles, and 3 miles out from the show's center marker. The pilots, believe it or not, as they're flying and doing all these maneuvers, will use those visual references as kind of a guide to make them go through the maneuvers properly. So they'll do that. Then usually the solos will take off around 1 o'clock. And they will do their same thing, circle and arrival maneuvers, looking for spots that can help them out during their demonstration. And then usually at 3 o'clock is when the entire team will go back up. So you'll have all 6 aircraft flying together in a full practice demonstration on Thursday. So if I were you and I happen to live in Charleston, I would say Thursday and Friday are your much better bets if you'd like to go down to the harbor and check out the Blue Angels flying around. Pretty cool opportunity, I think. I don't think they're probably going to fly over the harbor too many times unless base decides this is a better idea for them. They want to do the show over the harbor in the future. But it's going to be a pretty cool sight, I think. Hopefully someone gets some cool pictures with the bridges in Charleston in the background, things like that. Should be some cool opportunities. Also, if you're heading down there on Saturday, and hopefully the weather does hold up, a friend of the show and a friend of mine, Bill Walsh, who is the meteorologist there in Charleston, one of the TV stations, he will be the announcer for the air show. So you'll hear Bill's voice kind of narrating the different demonstrations for you, the C-17 demo team, which he used to be associated with, and the Viper demo team, he'll be introducing them, and then, of course, introducing the Blue Angels. So that'll be pretty cool. If you also go down to the show. I heard they were going to be live streaming the narration. Let me look up that one more time. I think it's 98.3 or something like that, but let me look it up for 100% accuracy. It'll be broadcast at 98.9. So if you're heading down there and want to listen to the sounds and the music and everything, and the narration, 98.9.
On a regular FM radio, and I'm looking around trying to find one because I normally have one within reach, and it's over there. I do see it. It is not within reach, but it is in the room. Ricky will be back with us in just a moment. I can see that he has frozen. And so we're going to go back over to live radar here for just a moment and talk to you a little bit about what we are watching right now on radar, because there are a couple of stronger storms moving across the Carolinas with us here at about this 9:30 hour. And I want to show them to you so that you have an idea of what exactly is happening right now. While Ricky was talking, we've been watching this thunderstorm over North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And I've gone back and forth on whether or not to call it a thunderstorm, but we are getting lightning associated with it now. So it is certainly a defined thunderstorm. It's not a severe storm, but it is a strong storm. It does have possibility of hail up to about penny size, and does have possibility of 40-mile-per-hour wind. So we would call this just sub-severe, but it's going to be impactful if you're over that university area, maybe over NODA, over Interstate 85, now coming over the east side of Interstate 485. And you can see we have had multiple lightning strikes across this storm. So the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued a special weather statement for this storm. Again, just saying that they're keeping a close eye on it, as are we. Ricky hopes to be back with us in just a few minutes. He's texting us right now, I think, to tell me that he has an internet outage. But while I'm talking, and I'm actually getting our Carolina WeatherNet robot talking in my ear right now as I'm talking to you. So if I'm stuttering at all or seemingly tripping over my words, it's because there's a robot talking in my ear. And this severe thunderstorm has been extended. This warning now that we've had in effect kind of for the Reedsville area has been extended south into the east for portions of the Greensboro area, Burlington into Hillsboro, back up towards Stocksdale as well too. So let's go ahead and look here at the severe thunderstorm warning that the National Weather Service in Raleigh has just issued for Alamance, Orange, and Guilford counties until 10:15. At 9:30, they're tracking a severe thunderstorm located along a line extending from Reedsville and Ellisboro, moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. The hazards remain 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. Hail damage to vehicles is expected. Wind damage to roofs, sidings, and trees are possible. So again, kind of the metropolitan areas associated with this warning do include Greensboro, Burlington, Graham, Hillsboro, Mabin, Elon, Leansville, Summerfield, Gibsonville, and Stocksdale. Also, Interstate 85, Interstate 40 are a part of this warning. So we can see now that the storm that we had just up over here, over the Reedsville area, is continuing to move now to the south and to the east. And that's why the National Weather Service in Raleigh has picked up from the National Weather Service in Blacksburg. Their jurisdiction line is somewhere right in on here. And they're going to go ahead and continue now with those warnings as this line moves to the south and the east. Again, we're looking at a line that does extend back up towards Virginia. And as we're talking, and you're watching live with me right here on the Carolina Weather Group, we can see that another cell that's coming out of the South Boston, Virginia area and crossing now into North Carolina near Roxborough. This now also has a severe thunderstorm warning associated with it until 10:15. National Weather Service in Raleigh here issuing this for Person, Vance, and Granville counties. And again, this is for a severe thunderstorm that is near Alton or Turbleville. Maybe I got that right. Turbeville, moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, quarter-size hail are associated with this. Roxborough and Concord are areas that are inside of this, as is the Mayo Reserve and the John H. Kerr Reservoir. And so you can see that storm here is going to be crossing over into North Carolina in the next few minutes. The National Weather Service going ahead and getting ahead of that. Let's kind of do a quarry here. Right now we're looking at reflectivity. So we're looking at the intensity of the rain. But let's switch over first to winds and get an idea for where some of the strongest winds are. And we're looking at this from the vantage point of the National Weather Service radar in Raleigh. Matter of fact, I'm going to make this even bigger on your screen because you guys don't really need to see my face. You need to see what it is we are looking at on radar. So let's let's make this nice and big for you here as we continue to track storms with you on this Wednesday night here on the Carolina Weather Group. James Brierton with you in Charlotte, looking at this National Weather Service warned storm for a severe thunderstorm now just to the north of the Greensboro area. And you can see right in here where we have some of those brightest radar returns where the green is so bright it almost turns white. You can see that we have radar estimated winds at about 50 miles an hour. And so the National Weather Service has gone ahead and warned for the storm because they think we could easily get to that 60-mile-per-hour mark that we're needed for storms. We'll come back and look at the hail in that one in just a moment. This newer severe thunderstorm warning that is just coming out of South Boston, Virginia, and going to be coming into North Carolina here in the next few minutes, it too has one of these areas where we're seeing some brighter velocity returns on the wind-driven estimated product here. And we can see, again, winds of about 43 miles an hour or so. And again, the National Weather Service telling us we could see winds up to 60 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and switch this over to hail because this seems to be probably one of the more definite threats tonight is the hail. And you can see this is just now looking at radar estimated hail. And of course, red is not good in this particular instance. So we do have a bit of a hail core here right over the state line between Virginia and North Carolina. We're zoomed in a bit here. We're just to the east of Danville, just to the east of Milton. And as I make my way back now towards the Triad into the Virginia area, we've been watching this hail core in particular that is now coming out of Reedsville and is going to push off to the south and to the east. So with any luck, that particular hail core will miss Greensboro. Burlington could be coming towards you. We are watching maybe some developing hail that could clip some of the Greensboro area, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the radar back into motion, and you can actually see how this particular hail core came right on through here, through Stoneville, Wentworth, and Reedsville. And as Ricky and I were talking about, it actually weakened for a few radar scans as it came through Wentworth, and then re-intensified once it came through the Reedsville area. So in the past 30 minutes, it's actually looking some of the strongest it has looked during the entire process of us tracking the storm here with you over the course of the last half an hour or so. So we'll continue to keep a very close eye on that as that storm pushes off to the south and the east. And that's why the National Weather Service has warnings now that go all the way from Greensboro up to almost Clarksville, Virginia. And you can see these storms essentially are intensifying because when you watch this one hail core here and then look at the second hail core, that second hail core only starts to get going in the last couple radar frames, which are associated with like 9:15 p.m. onward. So in the last 20 minutes or so. So those things are just starting to kick on up. Now, the storm that's over here towards Mecklenburg County and in Virginia, in the Charlotte area, we don't see a strong hail return with it. We did get a report from MPing, one of you watching at home right now using the MPing app, that you did maybe get pea-size hail, about 1/4 of an inch. And that hail report, if I zoom on in, that looks like it's over here off of North Tryon, right over probably by the IKEA, if I've got my bearings right, because the University of Charlotte, they're just to the north of that. So we maybe are getting some small hail. Again, this storm is probably just below what the National Weather Service would categorize as severe, and that's why we don't have a warning on it right now. But we'll keep a very close eye on that storm as they continue to track across the Carolinas. I'm also watching for the earliest indications of where new rain could be firing up. And we might have it here just south of High Point, out here over Stanley County and Anson County, and even back out to the west of Stocksdale, which is kind of the end of where that line is. Because as we saw earlier on the high rapid refresh model, as we go through the night, we could actually see a few thunderstorms continuing to develop essentially from where this line is off to the east is where we could see during the 10, 11, midnight hours, a few more rumbles of thunder coming through. Gusty winds, small hail are most likely a threat. The National Weather Service telling us they'll be keeping a close eye on an isolated chance of seeing maybe an isolated tornado. It's not likely. But never hurts, of course, to have that NOAA weather radio on standby just in case one of these storms manages to overachieve. We are getting a storm report in. Let's see. couple coming in right now. We have another hail report with our kind of our main culprit tonight. Again, that cell that's coming out of Reedsville, putting down pea-size hail here. This is also coming in from one of you at home using the MPing app. Thanks so much for those reports. And so you can see this came in at about 9:37, just 2 minutes ago, and it is just here south of the county line along Highway 61. Seems to be where that hail report came on in. So we are getting confirmation tonight of at least pea-size hail. I would have expected to see maybe more reports of hail as that storm came through Reedsville. It's possible that where it hailed, that person just doesn't have the MPing app. Continuing to watch lightning, yes, you could actually see a few rumbles of thunder associated with these storms. I saw my first flash of lightning in quite some time yesterday morning here in the Charlotte area. I did a double take. I was like, is that lightning? Why, yes, it is. So you could too be in that position tonight. The National Weather Service in Raleigh telling us that the supercell right now moving through Guilford and Alamance County is showing mostly 1-inch melting hail signature for now. So it is persistent at its current intensity. Maximum hail size estimates will likely be closer to maybe 1.5 inches, and a strong wind signature between 50 and 60 miles per hour as that storm moves through Guilford County and into Alamance County in the next several minutes. The National Weather Service in Greenville Spartanburg says they're continuing to watch that cell over the Charlotte area with radar estimates of 40-mile-per-hour winds as that cell has some of the strongest winds making it down to the surface. Let's bring into the conversation Frank Strait in Columbia, South Carolina, who he himself was here in Charlotte yesterday in person. I saw the man in the real world, IRL. So good to see you again, Frank.
Yes. And wow, it's raining somewhere again.
It's raining and it's thundering in some places. Can you believe
There's
it?
thunder and lightning, and all of it's in North Carolina right now, though. I was disappointed to come home yesterday and find that only 1/100th of an inch of rain had fallen in my Cocorus rain gauge.
Especially since you were with me here in Charlotte getting just poured on during the morning
for a
rush
while
hour
anyway.
yesterday.
There's what,
Yeah, for a
2/10
little
of
while.
an inch in Charlotte yesterday morning.
I shared with viewers earlier in the show that yesterday I got 20%, almost 30% of my monthly rain happened just yesterday when I got 2/10 of an inch of rain.
Yep.
But
I've had so many technical issues tonight. I haven't had a chance to set anything up.
That's okay. I've just been nowcasting with our friends here tonight as we're keeping a close eye on things. Matter of fact, Grace O'Connor, watching over on YouTube, is asking about Elon. So yeah, I think Elon is in a place tonight where you could very well see this severe storm that is kind of knocking on your door just to the north here. Matter of fact, if I've got my bearings right, you're inside the severe thunderstorm warning. The rain is not quite to you just yet, but you are in this warning until 10:15 for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail. And as we talked about earlier in the show, if you weren't with us, Grace, lightning and things can happen out ahead of the storm. We were seeing it happen in Charlotte as it was raining and pouring cats and dogs at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. We had lightning out towards Charlotte Motor Speedway, which is actually closer to Concord. So we could start to see maybe some lightning out along the I-85 corridor here in the next few minutes. And so we'll certainly keep an eye on that. Salty saying that rain is definitely needed for sure. Severe storms, including hail and strong winds, not so much. I agree. We'll take the rain. We could certainly do without some of those severe weather impacts. Frank, I know you worked through some technical difficulties, but I got your screen share here. You're looking at that cell closer to where I am here in Charlotte. I think you're muted. You pulled a Scotty, my friend. But that one's easily solvable.
Oh no! At least that's an easy issue to solve here. Yes, it's raining in Charlotte again.
It is raining in Charlotte.
All the way over into southern Cabarrus County, and some of the rain's coming down pretty hard too. Might even be a little small hail in that in a few spots.
Yeah, we had a pea-size MPing report, and John Ahrens, the chief meteorologist over at WSOC, just reminding us Bruno Mars is currently performing outside of Bank of America Stadium. So it's not raining there inside the I-277 corridor, but we again got to watch that lightning threat.
Right. Well, let's look at the higher tilts here, and there we go. There's actually a cell moving toward uptown Charlotte right now. It's a small one.
Oh, is that the
But,
latest radar frame?
yeah, and this is a higher tilt here. This is
Okay.
the 15-degree tilt on the Charlotte Terminal Doppler weather radar. And yeah, there's a little cell that's developing over just to the northwest of uptown, moving into uptown there. So, yeah, that's going to pass very close to BOA, and maybe it's producing precipitation at the ground. Maybe it's hasn't. Maybe it's not reaching the ground just yet, but there could be some rain there
Yeah.
at the BOA shortly.
Yeah, matter of fact, we have a weather stem camera that is over there at the B of A, where Bruno Mars is performing tonight, and we'll keep a close eye on it. This is essentially, folks, going to be your before picture. We'll watch for maybe rain to pop up here in the next few minutes, but this is looking from the stadium to the north and to the east, where the practice bubble and the practice fields would be just behind Frank and I there. And I'll go ahead and resize this so you can see it a little bit better. But we'll watch here as some of that rain moves on through to see what that might do to this particular camera angle. And then we've also got one back along Independence, which I know Frank loves, looking back north towards the city of Charlotte. So we'll watch for that here in the next few minutes. But Frank, I got to tell you, the National Weather Service has been triggering all sorts of things in my ear as I've been talking, because I've still got our Carolina WeatherNet announcements going, helping me keep an ear on things. And we did just get a report of a tree down here in the Carolinas associated with one of these storms. And I want to go ahead and show that to folks because it's in Stoneville, which is, of course, in Rockingham County in North Carolina. That's kind of where our main storm tonight has been, the one that has been severe warned throughout the entire show tonight. The National Weather Service telling us that they do have a report of a tree down now, this coming in to them from 911 dispatchers at about the 9:08 time. Estimated thunderstorm winds here associated with that storm were likely the culprit. And so we'll watch for that to populate on my map in the next few minutes. And I think it's just coming in now, too. So we can kind of show people visually where we think that tree did come down associated with some severe winds with that storm. And that's right back up here in Stoneville at about that 9:08 time frame.
Yeah, those are some fairly intense storms up there. I noticed that there was some decent wind showing up on the weather radar up there. Storms up that way, and haven't been watching as closely as the one in Charlotte. Just got a severe thunderstorm warning show up with that cell in far southern Cabarrus County.
Is that a thunderstorm warning or is that a special weather statement?
Good question.
Okay.
Because my GR2 analyst is not behaving properly.
I'm going to look right now. So, oh, no, you're correct. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued for Cabarrus County. So that's so interesting. It's not the Mecklenburg portion of the storm. It has not yet shown up on my radar map, but it's going to be right on in here approximately where we can probably see we got the lightning, the most intense rain. That's probably, of course, where the hail core is. There's winds. Let's go to hail here. And yeah, we can see a little bit of a hail core here between Charlotte and Locust. And maybe if I bring it back a frame or two, yeah, that looks like it's still developing. It looks like it's still growing in the last 3 frames.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's also interesting, Frank, is you can kind of see we've got a hail report
and
here.
And there goes another warning there off to the east.
We've got a hail report here, and then this is where the warning is. So it might even just be putting down kind of like a line of hail as it moves off to the east.
Yeah, it looks that way. Stanley County, southern Stanley County is now under severe
okay. That would have been the National Weather Service in Raleigh kind of joining GSP. I'm sorry. I'm probably stepping all over you because I got to tell you, I got this robot shouting in my ear, and I don't know if I like
it. I don't want to have a robot shouting in my ear either.
Well, for folks who are new to the channel, as I know a couple of you are, we have the Carolina WeatherNet, which streams 24/7, even when we're not on, and will announce warnings as they come in. So I left it on in my ear to help me guide through some of the coverage here tonight, but it has been talking non-stop as all of these things have just been firing off since the 9 o'clock hour.
Yep. But all up in North Carolina, nothing in South Carolina.
Nothing, no drought busting thunderstorms for you in South Carolina. And to be clear, none of these thunderstorms in North Carolina are going to bust the drought either. but they're going to put on
Right.
quite a show for a little bit, as Grace is telling us in Alamance over there near Elon, right? Lots of lightning, and I don't even know that the radar scope is doing justice for the lightning. I've got lightning turned on, but I'm not seeing a lot of pings. But I'll take
Yeah.
Grace's ground report any day over what I'm seeing on the computer.
Yeah, the radar scope's only going to show you the cloud to ground strokes, so there can be a good bit of lightning and not a lot of it showing up on radar scope.
I think it might be raining now at that Bruno Mars concert.
Looks like it probably is at this point.
Yeah.
GSP radar has a pretty good blob over Center City area there.
Yeah, I feel like we can maybe kind of see it on the camera. It's obviously dark out right now, and so it's not the most visible thing I've ever seen, but I'll go ahead and pop it up on the screen regardless, because we've got it, right? So I think that's the cloud there in the top left, that lighter area. I'm going to go to the Greensboro camera because that might help us get a sense for what that hail situation is like up there in the I-85 corridor in the Triad. And we do, of course, also have a camera there. And I'm going to go ahead and get it on the screen for you so that I can show it to you. What are you looking at on radar, Frank?
I'm trying to go back to the Charlotte Terminal Doppler radar to get a higher resolution view of what's happening in Mecklenburg County right now.
I could just step outside. Would that help?
You could do that. But yeah, there's a little cell that's passing over Center City, and now it's showing up on the lower tilts of the terminal Doppler radar. So yeah, some rain's probably reaching the ground. The radar beam there is only a couple hundred feet off the ground in that area, so likely is picking up on some real life precipitation happening there. Looks like it'll just be a brief shower though, and no severe weather like what's happening further east.
Yeah, I'm continuing to watch what's happening further east because that seems to be probably where we're getting the bulk of the activity right now, or at least some of the bulk of the population. Yes, it's raining in Charlotte, but in terms of where these like polygons are for the actual warnings, right? Greensboro being included in this warning here that could just pass the top of the hour. Continuing to watch now as the storm kind of comes down closer to that I-85 corridor. And so we have had confirmed reports of at least pea-size hail associated with this severe thunderstorm, likely higher hail with this storm. Same thing with the one that's coming now out of Virginia into North Carolina. Been watching there for the chance of seeing some hail. Say that again, Sebastian. Quit Eastern Guilford. Is that where you're at? You're watching from Guilford tonight? Yeah. So Guilford County, picking up a lot of the bulk of the action here. And I'm keeping an eye. I do have our Guilford County emergency management camera up from WeatherStem. I'm not sure it's pointed in a direction that is going to show us this particular storm, but because we have it, there it is. I definitely do want to show it to you. Frank, you're back over in the Charlotte area looking at terminal?
Yes. So this is showing where the precipitation is, and the two red polygons are showing you the severe thunderstorm warnings that are out. Switching over to velocity. Unfortunately, I have the default colors in here, and they're not so great. I need to get my regular color scheme in there, but the radar is picking up on not a whole lot of wind, 25 to 30 miles an hour. But what you can see fairly well is the outflow from this little line of thunderstorms pushing through southern Mecklenburg County, and actually some of it pushing into York County as well. So if you notice the wind pick up there, and Lake Wiley and Pineville around Carowinds and over to Matthews, that's just outflow from these thunderstorms that have passed by to your north.
Yeah, I know we had a viewer earlier in York County who was checking in with us, so that's some good guidance for them. Not seeing any precipitation down there right now, but Ricky and I were looking at this earlier in the show before his internet decided to go on hiatus, and that's the futurecast for the remainder of tonight, the rapid refresh model here. And putting that on the screen for you right now, you can kind of see as we go on through tonight, it's done a pretty good job of showing where it thought the rain was going to be, and we can kind of verify that's more or less where those cells are right now. So it's possible, if you believe what the latest run of the HRRR puts out, that we could maybe see some rain develop over York County throughout the rest of the night. But again, it's kind of to the east of the I-85 corridor there, where we could see a few of these thunderstorm cells pop up as we go on through the remainder of the overnight hours. Maybe, again, York County, the Sandhills of South Carolina could get in on some of this rain. It doesn't look like much in the way for you, my friend, there in Columbia. It looks like this is mostly a North Carolina opportunity for some rain that does dissipate by the morning hours.
Yeah, it looks that way. The HER model there is showing a couple of thunderstorms. One it tries to pop one up in York County. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. This is a computer model. It's not an actual forecast, but we'll be on the lookout for thunderstorms maybe getting into the northern part of South Carolina.
You might get an opportunity tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. It looks like you might have an opportunity.
Yes, we get some general rain moving through as we get leftovers from the more significant thunderstorms happening to our west move through tomorrow morning. Could get a period of rain that can be heavy from that. We would have to watch out for some stronger storms along the coast, I think. But I think it's mainly just going to be a rain, and of course we'll take all the rain that is willing to fall on us right now.
Every drop counts. Taking it back out live right now to what we're seeing on radar. This, I think, is still that same little hail core that we know was associated with the thunderstorm as it brought down a tree in Stoneville, and the hail bringing us some pea-sized hail as it made its way through Guilford County, and now as it's just sliding to the north of Burlington. I mean, radar indication is still pretty good. I think we got a new MPing report here for pea-size hail. I mean, Frank, I'd be curious to know if anyone was living right in here at about 9:35.
Yeah.
That seems to be where some of the strongest hail indications we've had all night have been.
Right.
So we are getting a thunderstorm warning update right now that will kind of rebox this storm that's moving towards Burlington as it continues off to the southeast at 35 miles an hour, 60-mile-per-hour winds, quarter-size hail. When we say quarter-size hail, we mean 1-inch size hail, the size of a quarter coin. Is the quantifiers for severe weather. And so that continues to be kind of the main game in town here. We have these 3 polygons. They're essentially 2 storms in 3 polygons over here between the triad and the triangle. And as Frank's been watching, the Charlotte storm has what is 2 polygons, but is really, again, one main culprit area just off to the east of the Charlotte area. So I'm over towards Matthews, and I've got a Tempest unit on my roof. And so it should be counting how many lightning strikes we've had so far. I feel like I'm within range here of this storm. And yeah, I've gotten maybe half a dozen or so lightning strikes associated with this severe storm that, again, is off to the east of the Charlotte area. Frank, I think you're still muted, my friend. In case you've been wondering why I'm just talking over you, that might be why.
Yep, that would be why. But yeah, it looks like the area over eastern Mecklenburg County and far southern Cabarrus County starting to perk up a little bit. So maybe we have another hail core or 2 trying to develop there. It's an area to keep an eye on as it continues to drift southeastward.
Yeah, so as the storm exits the Charlotte area and continues off to the east, it'll go into the jurisdiction of the National Weather Service in Raleigh. We're going to hit one of the more infamous radar holes in the Carolinas. We'll still be able to see the storm, but we're going to be looking really high up into it. So we're going to have a harder time knowing exactly what's happening on the ground as it continues to move through Stanley County, Anson County, over towards Richmond. Montgomery County. So again, this central part of the area in North Carolina, don't be surprised as you head to bed tonight. You might see some rain, some lightning out your window, hear that rumble of thunder. And I know Grace was watching on YouTube here with us asking about Elon, and we can see some of the rain now moving into Elon. But we were also talking about how lightning sometimes happens out ahead of the rain. And while this is not the most extreme example, but yeah, we did get a lightning strike 3 miles ahead of the precipitation here as the storm is now knocking on the door of Burlington.
Yep, and that's something you have to watch out for. It's one of the reasons why we say when thunder roars, go indoors, because you can have lightning striking well away from where rain is falling. So you can be some distance from a storm and still end up getting hit by lightning. So if you're hearing thunder, you need to be working your way indoors.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to check some of our Raleigh cameras. I don't know exactly which direction some of these cameras are looking, but I think it's possible. Yeah, it is possible. If the camera is looking off in the right distance, then we might be able to start to see now from the Raleigh perspective back towards the Greensboro perspective, these storms on approach. And so that is exactly what we're getting right now from our WeatherStam camera in Raleigh at NC State at Carter Finley Stadium. Just watch the center of your screen there. And the last few moments I was watching some bolts of lightning flashing off in the distance as those storms make their move through the triad and closer to the triangle. If I had to estimate right now, that lightning is pushing 40 to 50 miles away, Frank, but it's still visible there on this camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's most often misidentified as heat lightning. When people see lightning on the horizon far off but don't hear it, it gets called heat lightning. Heat lightning is not a thing. Heat does not make lightning. It is just far away lightning. And so if you are in Raleigh seeing, again, this lightning off in the distance, we do know, based on radar, there are actual storms out there. Several of you watching tonight from that area. Go ahead, Frank.
Lightning is a discharge, and why did it suddenly switch to my?
I don't know. Your computer is just like protesting.
Yeah, there we go. I don't know why that happened, but anyway, yes, distant lightning is caused by it's lightning that's got a great distance. Heat does not make lightning. There's no such thing as heat lightning.
We're coming up on the 10 o'clock hour. I'm going to reset. I'm going to show everybody what's on radar. And Frank and I are going to talk a little bit about what we did yesterday here in Charlotte. And I'm sure Frank's got a couple of notes he wants to give you on the forecast out ahead as we are quickly drawing towards the conclusion of our weekly podcast. But don't worry, our storm coverage will be continuing throughout the night. But again, here now at the 10 o'clock hour, we do still have at least 3 severe storms, 60-mile-per-hour winds, 1-inch size hail moving through the Carolinas. I think our number one culprit, Frank, continues to be this storm, which I can play connect the dots with on the hail reports as it moves off here towards the I-85 corridor right now, bringing some of that hail maybe in Burlington or Green Level or north of there as it kind of hugs the Elon area. Again, looking at winds right now, you can see at least 40, maybe 50 mile per hour radar estimated winds. The hail seems to be, I think, where most people are going to get some unwanted benefits of this rain, as we can see that pink and purple hail core right now just over the north side of Burlington.
Right, and that looks like potential for some decent hail there. 1 inch to maybe an inch and a quarter, so that would be quarter sized, decent sized hail there. That could do a number on you.
Yeah, the National Weather Service telling us on the high ends tonight that we could see 1.5 inch size hail if any of these storms were to overperform. And so that is, of course, enough to cause damage, especially if you've got a car parked out someplace. If the hail core is already upon you, don't go running outside to move your car. If you're in Raleigh right now where the storms haven't arrived yet and you've got the ability to move your car inside of a garage, you do still have time to go ahead and do that. Or maybe like me and have a garage and it's so full of junk you couldn't get a car in there if you wanted to.
My car is actually in my garage right now, but there's
Show
no
off.
threat of any thunderstorms here.
So we'll leave radar up on the screen here for a moment, Frank. But you and I had a chance to do something we don't normally get to do, which is see each other in real life. Yesterday here in Charlotte, we went to what is called an IWT, or an integrated warning team meeting. National Weather Service, emergency management, broadcasters, essentially a bunch of nerds, all got together to talk about science and weather, and communication was a huge part of what we discussed. So here we are, Frank and I sat next to each other. It was several hours long, hosted in uptown Charlotte by the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg, who, of course, I always love when GSP decides they're going to drive to us here in Charlotte, which is wonderful. But it meant that you folks in Columbia and elsewhere did make their way here to Charlotte. And so I hope you had a good time. I did. It was very informative.
That sure was. And thanks to your doggone traffic there in Charlotte, I missed
I know.
the
You're
first
welcome.
part of it.
So did I. Yeah, Frank texted me and said, "Save me a seat." And I said, "Frank, I'm in the same traffic you're in, man."
Yeah, because I drove up Monday night and spent the night in a hotel in Matthews. James, you live over that way, right?
Yeah, I do. We were in the same traffic, although
Yeah,
Frank
so
was
we
too
were in the
cool to
same
hang out
traffic.
with me.
I assumed that James was much more knowledgeable about the bad things that can happen with Charlotte traffic, and
I mean, I took the back roads.
Yeah, had gotten up earlier and was already there. But no, my Slack self was arriving about 20 minutes after things started, so I missed a part of it.
Mornings are not my forte.
Yeah. So anyway, missed the first part of the GSP warning coordination meteorologist Tris Palmer's presentation, talking about how the Weather Service is going to be looking after some restructuring that they're going to be doing soon. So
she also
that's
talked about how
interesting.
I also thought she did a great job of kind of kicking off the event, which again was kind of emergency management focused, by talking about their new initiative, especially there at the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg, where they're doing embeds. So they're taking their meteorologists and they're embedding them in EOCs, the Emergency Operations Centers in Spartanburg County and elsewhere. And of course, Charlotte, Mecklenburg County Emergency Management was there, and Charlotte spoke for a little while after Tricia spoke. We heard from the North Carolina Department of Transportation, which talked about impacts of Helene and ongoing recovery efforts, also winter storm efforts that they undertook. It was just really interesting to learn a little bit more about how they operated and to see some numbers on exactly how many trucks they had and how many, I don't even remember what the unit was, pounds of salt they put down. Pounds?
It was a lot.
It was a lot, whatever it was.
It was a lot of salt.
It was a big number. We also heard from the Storm Prediction Center, NOAA Storm Prediction Center, which does those categorical outlooks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about some of the changes they've made for this year, the additions.
Right.
And so hopefully we'll get them a chance to come on the show and we'll be able to tell you more about it, because they're still sticking with the 1 through 5 tier, but essentially some of the tiers can have added layers that tell you not only how likely something is to happen, but how severe something is to happen. So are you very likely to see EF5 tornadoes? Are you not likely to see EF5? It's a lot of layers, and I'm going to save it for a night where we're not tracking actual storms. But that was very informative, I thought, too. And we did also hear from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, who has their own emergency management department. And it was interesting to hear how they do things kind of on the academic level there at the university to keep students and staff safe. Frank, before I get back to radar, you have any other tidbits from the IWT you wanted to share?
No, I think you pretty well covered it all. We have, it was a lot of good information that was presented. I think I have a somewhat better understanding of the Storm Prediction Center's
I do too, yeah.
process there of with their new intensity level
forecast. Yeah. Yeah, we will explain to you. Don't worry. We're not going to do it right now because what I need to do right now is get everyone back over to radar because we do have an
Mm-hmm.
update right now on radar, which is a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued by the National Weather Service in Raleigh. And this thunderstorm warning continues tracking our main number one culprit tonight, which is coming out of Burlington and out of Maben, and is now making its way closer to the Raleigh area, including the campus of UNC in Chapel Hill, which is now included inside the severe thunderstorm warning. This warning just coming out in the last few minutes. It goes until 10:45, so it includes portions of Alamance, but also Orange County. And as the storm moves from Graham southeast at 30 miles an hour, we're watching still for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. So Chapel Hill, Burlington, Graham, Hillsborough, Carborough, Maben, Haw River, Swampsonville, Flint, and Cane Creek Reserve are inside this warning, along with Interstate 85 and Interstate 40, which do co-run for much of this, is inside of this warning right now. So we are continuing to see on our weather stem cameras this thunderstorm as it approaches the triangle. We do have also this seeing for the first time tonight our UNC Chapel Hill weather stem camera, where again we can see that lightning off in the distance that is making its way closer to campus. The lightning right now about 15 to 20 miles away from this particular camera and will be over that UNC Chapel Hill region in the next 30 to ish minutes or so, Frank. That storm, again, has been putting down lightning, but also hail. On our radar, we have been able to see kind of a connect the dots, very clear hail path with this storm that we've been watching for the course of the last hour or so. And so we can see the pea-size hail reports kind of would go right on through here if I were to continue them into the future. If the storm continues to put down hail like it did in these three locations, that location would probably slide us somewhere maybe to the west of Hillsborough. I'm doing a little predicting on where that path kind of is as that storm moves to the south and the east at 30 miles an hour. We're also getting some interesting velocity returns on the storm that is to the north of there as it kind of bows a little bit, Frank, as this one makes its way closer to Oxford. This storm has 3 minutes left on its warning. And so we'll see what the National Weather Service decides to do with that particular warning as that storm bows out there over that region. Closer to Charlotte right now, we are watching just that one severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for another 20 minutes. And again, you pretty much have to be in Mint Hill or further off to the east as that storm kind of rolls through south of Albemarle. So not forgetting about Oakboro and Locust and maybe portions of Norwood. But we do have that one cell here as we continue to watch what is a more organized line from Virginia down into portions of South Central North Carolina. Frank, I think you're back connected with us now.
Yeah, I think I am. Hopefully. Yeah, this is a comedy of computer errors tonight for sure.
Yeah,
except I don't find it funny at all.
No, it's pretty frustrating at times. So we did get a comment earlier from Hi, Hello, Hey, which reminds me of the John Mulaney and Nick Kroll Broadway show, Oh, Hello, who wrote in on YouTube saying, might go park under the car wash and enjoy watching the storm go by. I guess that's a pretty decent place to be. You'd be out of the hail. If there's lightning, I guess hang out inside the car. But I guess it could be a pretty good place to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's what I've done in the past when I've encountered hail while driving. Instead of parking under an underpass, I went
Don't do that.
Or an overpass rather. I went and found a car wash and put my car there.
Yeah, this must be one of those like self car washes. So you do yourself. That
Right.
same user writing in, same viewer writing in, asking, do you think the hail core is going to go over Chapel Hill? So, I mean, let's go back to my little game that I was playing where I was trying to map this out. And, it is interesting, Frank, and maybe you've got a thought on this, but, we were getting hail reports that kind of came in these areas, but the actual hail core seems to be doing more like this. So we did get some M-ping hail reports that didn't really align with where the radar is. And also, I'm glad we're taking a look at this because I kind of said it was going to go closer to Hillsborough, but when we look at the hail core on radar, it's dropping more south than maybe I was anticipating. So yeah, I think Chapel Hill could be maybe a little bit closer to this.
Yeah, right. Well, this I don't want to scare anybody, but there is some rotation in this. This is kind of a weak supercell here. Supercells that aren't producing tornadoes oftentimes produce some pretty good hail. So we'll keep an eye on that. But supercells also have a tendency to arc to the right with time. So it wouldn't surprise me if it ended up going over Chapel Hill or maybe passing by off to the west and south of Chapel Hill, just because that's the path we tend to see with supercells. They tend to follow a slicing pattern track off, taking a curve toward the right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that's some really good deducing there of not only what we are seeing, but like what you would expect to see with a cell such as this. And so putting those two things together as we continue to look at the live weather stam camera over in Chapel Hill. Hello to Junebugs, who's just subscribed to our channel. Thanks for subscribing to the Carolina Weather Group. So glad you're with us on Wednesday night. Frank and I and the gang normally do a podcast every Wednesday night here on the Carolina Weather Group channel talking about, weather and things across the Carolinas. Last week was all about drought and fire is still going to be a problem. But tonight just so happened to coexist with this severe weather threat. That was a lot of lighting.
I didn't see it because my computer screen blanked out temporarily. At least I
Frank's
didn't get
computer wants a raise. Yeah,
it's not getting one.
It's not getting one now.
It probably wants more RAM, but that ain't happening.
Yeah,
that's too expensive right now.
We did get maybe 1-inch size hail in Stanley County, North Carolina, in the Locust area, where we have just that one singular cell. Brad Panovich there telling the National Weather Service that somebody got 1-inch size hail. Matter of fact, he has a picture of it. It's in chat, so I think I can show that, right? I can show it if it's in chat. Isn't that how the rules work? Yeah.
I think so.
I think that's how that works. So let's show you what 1-inch size hail from Stanley County, North Carolina looks like. I don't know who sent this photo to Brad Panovich. I presume it's not Brad Panovich's hand since he's not in Stanley County tonight. But there you go. That's 1-inch size hail. It's about the size that the ice cube would be when it comes out of your freezer.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll expect to probably see a storm report on that coming out in the next few minutes. National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg, I anticipate we'll have a chance to get that storm report out fairly quickly. National Weather Service in Raleigh right now has all sorts of storms and polygons on the board that they are probably putting their first priorities towards trying to issue all of those real-time warnings.
Right. And continue to watch that hail core near Graham. Peak hail size, according to the maximum estimated hail size algorithms, 1.4 inches off to the southeast of Graham right now. The area around North Carolina Highway 54, just north of there. So we'll keep an eye on that as it continues to drift southeastward. And as I mentioned a minute ago, it looks like it's kind of following an arcing path, taking a bit of a slice to the right there as it moves off to the southeast of Graham.
I'm going to check DOT cameras because that probably just really did a number on traffic there along that portion of interstate that is both 85 and 40 as you make your way, again, kind of between Greensboro and Burlington. Yeah, there's Mebane. And let's see, do we have... I'm looking at traffic cameras. I'm looking at still pictures of traffic cameras. It actually seems like we might be in a no man's land for cameras here, either because of construction that's
Yeah.
going on or just because of the way things work.
I
Don't have
imagine that
any.
it slowed things down a lot going over the interstate. I mean, in addition to the hail, there was probably some really heavy rain. Visibility was poor. A lot
Yeah,
of water ponding on the road there on 40 and other roads in the area. So, yeah, I'm sure it slowed things down a lot.
I would certainly think so. No major power outages right now, and that was what I was looking at as I was looking at the traffic camera maps, trying to speculate if maybe the power had knocked out some of the traffic cameras. But if that's the case, it's not showing up yet. At least on the Duke Energy side of things, there are other power companies, of course, who service the area. Duke has a lot of power and control. We are still seeing some outages back towards Reedsville, where that storm started and did knock down a tree. So if I had to guess, this is associated with a tree that got knocked down that we saw earlier tonight, with about 100 Duke
Right.
Energy customers there without power. Also in Charlotte, where that storm came through, we do have some power outages, although as I zoom in and get more refined data, that actually looks like it's down closer to Union County. So that may or may not be storm related.
Yep. What is happening with those cells anyway? I see there was that 1-inch hail report you mentioned, but it looks like that whole area is sort of
Winding down.
diminishing.
Yeah,
It's winding down a little bit along the Union and Cabarrus Stanley County line there.
Yeah, it's especially hard on radar to show you what the hail might be doing because, again, as I mentioned, we kind of start getting into this no man's land of radar data out there. But we do still have that severe thunderstorm warning for another 10 minutes or so. And I think this is that 1-inch size hail report that we just saw a picture of. Yeah, sure enough, there it is, 952 over near Locust, as Frank mentioned. So, I mean, the real hail core is, of course, associated with the storms that are moving now out of the triad into the triangle. We have seen the addition of a severe thunderstorm warning that kind of fills in the gap between where we had the separate polygons kind of trying to converge here now as we make our way closer to the Hillsborough area, closer to the Durham area. We can see that the National Weather Service has also issued this severe thunderstorm warning polygon for Orange and Durham counties until 11 o'clock. Again, storm moving southeast at 30 with hazards of 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and nickel size hail.
Mm-hmm. Now that cell doesn't look quite as impressive as the one further south. But still, it does have the potential, and of course, we respect the polygon, even if we aren't impressed with the radar. But still, it still has the potential to cause at least some hail there and some gusty winds.
Yeah, I know we're obviously we're in a populated area where we've got impacts here with the interstate coming on through. But as we grow closer to the triangle and we get closer to those metropolitan areas and the college campuses, we'll have even more population that could be impacted by some of these storms as these cells move off to the south and to the east. And so that's why we're going to keep a very close eye on these weather stem cameras, which we're so lucky to have because they show us exactly what's happening on the ground. They show us what you're experiencing, what your neighbors might be experiencing. So we're again looking at the weather stem camera here at Chapel Hill as the storm grows a little bit closer minute by minute.
There, that southernmost cell there in Alamance and Orange County right now, that is looking ever more like a supercell there, the way it has that bean-shaped structure on reflectivity.
Yeah, it's so interesting to be getting a supercell at this hour of night on a day where the threat was so marginal. But I guess it's having a bit of open runway, if you would, Frank, right? Because we
right, yeah, it doesn't really have
over.
much. Yeah, it doesn't have much interfering with it right now. It's kind of the only game in town in that area and has all the energy in the area available to it. So yeah, it can outperform.
Yeah, I'm listening here in my ear to our weather wire. As the National Weather Service continues to bring in storm reports and those new warnings, we are still seeing MPing reports that are coming in from folks just like you at home. It's interesting that this cell, which we think is like the biggest cell, right? The supercell, we're only seeing MPing reports of Peace hail, and I don't know why we're not seeing hail reports of bigger. Um, that's just fascinating to me because I still feel like it's happening. And again, we now have a couple of more hail reports coming in, right? So you can see that we are dropping to the south. As Frank was mentioning before, supercells tend to do that here. And so that could bring this hail core closer to Chapel Hill. Oh, we just got another hail report. Let's click on this one here. Also peace. But now we have right inside this radar image 3 hail reports in the last few moments as the storm has now crossed over the interstate. Again, our radar right now is looking at hail because that is our primary threat.
No, right. Some gusty winds are possible too, but large hail is the main concern here. Even over 1 inch hail appears possible here. You've been up to 1.25 inches, maybe even a little bigger than that. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that cell as it continues to push its way southeastward.
Let me get my bearings here because a little birdie in my head just said, "Where's RDU? How close to RDU are we?" Because I think, right, as we draw a little bit closer here, and when we look at those winds that you were just mentioning, we're seeing pretty verifiably on radar 60 mile per hour or near 60 mile per hour winds here that are going to be knocking through Hillsborough and on to Durham in the next few minutes.
Right. It's trucking on that way. So let me get a look at the radar here on my end. That's a pretty good cluster. How far is that from RDU? The terminal Doppler there is at least close to the airport, so I can measure from there, or measure from the dot that I'm going to put there.
Yeah, about 20 miles. I think.
Now measure from Archer. So about 20-ish nautical miles. So 24, 25 miles, statute miles to the northwest of RDU Airport, or more west-northwest.
Assuming that these winds are kind of moving the same way the hail is, right, to the south and to the east, these winds are definitely going to probably, if they hold together, going to be coming into Durham. And that's, I think, why the National Weather Service has that severe thunderstorm warning for more than 20 miles here into the Durham, downtown Durham area proper.
Yeah. Did we ever mention this new severe thunderstorm warning off to the northeast in Granville and Vance counties?
Is that this one?
Yes. That one's in effect.
I don't know if I've touched it since they've redrawn it. They made it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that must have issued a replacement warning there, but that one's the one that has the potential to cause some pretty strong winds. That's more of a bow structure there. So, and it looks like there's some decent wind on the radar as well. So, have to watch out for 60-mile-an-hour winds with that storm. Some hail potential with that too, but it looks like that one's more of a wind producer than a hail producer.
Yeah, it's interesting. The different storms kind of have different threats associated with them. And you were mentioning before, Frank, that the supercells, like this one off to the south here, tend to sometimes rotate. Is that something that you're still seeing kind of happening?
Let's see here. Let's see how that.
I was looking at some of these. Yeah, I was looking at some of these notches on reflectivity, but I'm not so much seeing it then when I go back over to velocity.
Right. It's kind of maybe moving a little bit to the right of kind of straight ahead, not by much, but it may be enough to get it to pass by Chapel Hill and the worst, miss Chapel Hill, which is what we want, unless you happen to be someone west or south of Chapel Hill, in which case you don't like that idea at all. You want to hit Chapel Hill, right?
Yeah. Everyone wants the rain, but not the hail. And right. No one wants the hail. I don't know if we want to wish it upon anyone else, but that is certainly what we keep an eye on here. I've got the WeatherStem camera there at Chapel Hill. We did have the NC State camera up, and I don't want to forget about NC State, so I'm just going to pop it up here real briefly because I think we were also seeing the storm out in the distance. Obviously we got to get through Durham and Chapel Hill first. But if if you got a high enough elevation or your dorm room is high enough, you might be able to get a pretty good view. I remember my freshman year at college, I had a pretty high dorm room, and you could watch some of these storms roll in if you didn't have access, say, the Chapel Hill, North Carolina WeatherStem camera, which you all do if you go to the WeatherStem website.
Right.
All right, I'm going to check in with the National Weather Service in chat. We got anything new for us? Don't see anything. What's so interesting about this right now is all of the warnings are in the jurisdiction of the National Weather Service in Raleigh. Even this one closer to Charlotte is on the outer reaches of the National Weather Service in Raleigh. So Raleigh's
Right.
office right now is in the hot seat.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know how many people they have working tonight. I can only imagine that they're feeling staffed up, hopefully, and keeping an eye on all this. And of course, also I can confirm from looking at our internal chat here that the Central Carolina Skywarn is also activated with their ham radio operators, your storm spotters across the region, relaying to the National Weather Service kind of what they're seeing. So we got amateur radio operators. We saw Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich talking to the National Weather Service in Raleigh, and of course on social media. So kind of a big, if you will, of how the storm reports come in and get verified and sent out by the National Weather Service and end up here in the Carolina Weather Group on the 11 o'clock news and all those places. We're all in this together, which brings us back to that IWT meeting, right? All of the different arms of this big monster working together to communicate effectively on storm threats, big and small.
That's right. It's a machine that all works together with both the public sector and the private sector.
In on chat, some of you guys are talking about radio and emergency alerts, which is a fabulous way also that all of this stuff gets communicated out either over NOAA weather radio or public radio or commercial radio. That emergency alert system, it looks like it's firing off there, of course, on WUNC FM from the Triangle region here. And, a lot of these storm warnings, you can sometimes see in the bulletin, it might get scraped out by radar scope, whether the EAS was active or not. And so I think public radio would be probably a place that they'd be relaying a lot of these.
Right. Yeah. All these warnings get relayed from one thing to another through radio stations, including those run by universities and in the private sector too. And they go to your wireless emergency alerts as well.
Yep. Frequent viewer Jay and talking with some other folks who are watching here tonight, discussing that UNC's range is far and wide, probably not only from their signal there in the Raleigh area, but their broader network as well too. I mean, I'll tell you, I've been in the car, right? And I've got weather radios and I got weather apps, but I have been informed by the emergency alert system on the FM band as I was driving one day, and it alerted me that I was heading into a tornado warning. And I was like, thank goodness I was tuned to the station who passed this message through.
Right.
All right, we have a severe thunderstorm warning now being issued by the National Weather Service in Raleigh. This is going to be an update here for our main storm over in that greater Hillsborough area and Carborough. They may be reboxing some of it, but it does say hail damage to vehicles is expected with that 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail. Expect damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations include Chapel Hill, Hillsborough, Carborough, Efland, Cane Creek Reserve, as this storm continues to move off to the south and east at 30 miles an hour. So that is going to be this guy right on in here. I don't know if he's getting redrawn or what exactly it is, but the National Weather Service is updating that warning right now as we speak.
Yeah, that one is the bad boy there, the one that's in Orange County there to the northwest of Chapel Hill. That's the one that is primarily a hail threat, but hail 1 inch to 1.25 inches is a risk there. So that's the one we have to pay close attention to.
Yeah, we can see on radar right now kind of a red pixel the intensity of that hail. The MPing report's still saying quarter size. I'm actually pulling out my app because I want to be like, you can report bigger than quarter size, right? Because it feels like so many of these right now are coming in as quarters, but I'm sure you can.
I'm certain you can. I've never had that opportunity, so I can't confirm it because I've never done it before. But
yeah, you can.
Surely you can.
There's a whole list of
there
them.
you go.
Okay. It goes all the way up to softball 5-inch size. So I'm going to go ahead and not that. That would confuse a lot of people. But there you go. Okay. So if I switch this back over to reflectivity, the rain is now coming into, well, it's already over Hillsborough. It's coming into Durham. And it'll probably be on the UNC Chapel Hill campus here in the next few minutes. As it kind of comes along I-40 here, which snakes kind of right on like that through the area.
Right.
You know, one of the things we learned at our integrated warning team meeting yesterday, Frank, or I guess I relearned because as a college student, this was a thing that existed and I kind of forgot about it, is that college campuses such as UNC Chapel Hill will have their own alert systems that they will use to inform students and staff, whether that's taking over monitor screens, you know, like in the student union or sending out text notifications or emails or an app. And I know the Charlotte folks were talking about how their system is automated. So if the National Weather Service issues a qualified warning, it'll automatically get relayed by their system. So there's not really a middleman delay, which is smart.
Yeah. I imagine it probably goes to digital signage around campus as well.
Yeah.
So people looking at that would see those warnings and be able to read them.
Yeah. Your storm that you mentioned, kind of north of Raleigh, Henderson, Oxford. These are the counties of Person, Vance, Warren, Granville, Franklin. That bad boy, he's still blowing.
Right. It's a pretty intense storm there. Some hail risk there with it, but looks like primarily a wind risk. Looking at the storm tops display there, the tops are over 40,000 feet, up to around 42,000 feet with that storm. Taller storms tend to be more intense ones, so that definitely is robust as it continues to track southeastward there in areas north of Raleigh and Wake Forest.
Yeah, I was just thinking, for anybody looking at my radar trying to figure out where the actual city of Raleigh is, it is, of course, right on in here, but because I've got markers for where all of our weather stammer cameras are, including at NC State, it's getting priorities. So where you see NC State, that's, of course, where Raleigh is. If anyone was looking for the actual city tag, because we do have Durham, but then we have Chapel Hill represented by UNC. We have NC State representing Raleigh. And I guess I just don't have a weather stem camera in Durham, but I'll talk to them about that.
Right. So Kev, they're saying that it looks like they'll have to issue a new severe thunderstorm warning soon. They probably will. It's getting close to the southeast end of that polygon that they've drawn there. So probably will have to issue a new warning soon for areas south and east in Franklin County, maybe Warren County, and maybe even into Nash County. Looks like it will probably stay north of Wake County, but not by much.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who narrowly misses out on this. Again, I think the ideal place to be, given the drought, is the place where you get rain, but you don't get the hail. How do you arrange that? Pure luck.
Yeah, exactly. That being said, the storms off to the northwest of Raleigh there in Orange and Durham counties, that's probably going to head into Raleigh. So we'll see how intense they are when they get there. But some of that stuff's looking pretty robust right now.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's been a couple radar frames since I checked out our hail core. Golly molly, there's the new warning. As we just predicted, it does reach into portions of the Raleigh metro area, inside the loop there, at least on the west side, also down to Apex. Also fills in a little bit more of Durham. And yeah, that hail core is just holding on.
Sure is.
we were talking before how it felt like it was banking and curving, but as I do kind of the same radar loop here again, it's kind of aligned a bit as it continues off to the south and the east. This seems to be the trajectory it's going to hold on to, I think, for a moment, and that would keep it in line with Chapel Hill.
Right. Yeah. Right now, it looks like it's heading right toward Chapel Hill. So, if you're at UNC, you should be taking cover now and starting to move indoors, because it looks like
Yeah,
it's coming right at
UNC
you.
definitely, and also NC State is not yet in a warning, but you might as well be thinking about where you're going to go as the storm continues off to the south and east. Because if it holds together, Raleigh would be next. Maybe there's a little hope that in that very last radar frame, that core got a little bit, but I mean it's still severe.
Yes. Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, so let's look at this warning. It goes for another 36 minutes. National Weather Service here issuing it for Orange, Wake, Chatham, and Durham counties until 11:15. Severe thunderstorm, as you know, near Carborough or Chapel Hill, moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. The hazards remain 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and 1-inch size hail, which we're calling quarter like the coin. Hail damage to vehicles is expected with wind damage possible to roof lighting and trees. Locations include Raleigh, Durham, Cary, Chapel Hill, pretty much if you're a big city in the triangle, Hillsborough, Carborough, RDU Airport, Apex, Morrisville, and the William Olmsted Park. So lots of people in that polygon.
Yep. Also further south, James, no warnings in effect, but the radar is lighting up some now over Anson and Richmond County into Scotland and Hope counties. We'll have to keep an eye on that area too. That stuff moving southeastward, likely to bypass Fayetteville, but also at least mostly likely to remain within North Carolina. So those of you in those areas and further downstream into Robeson and Bladen counties, you need to keep an eye on that stuff. That stuff could eventually reach severe levels.
Yeah, the whale watching with us on YouTube, talking again about that lightning threat, those strikes out of the blue. Again, folks in Raleigh, even if you're not in that polygon, you are still within that range for those strikes out of the blue, where the lightning strikes out ahead of the actual precipitation. And so storms like the ones that Frank was just talking about over south central portions of North Carolina, which are just starting to fire up, they don't have warnings. They may not be activating your apps or your emergency wireless alert systems, but they do have that lightning threat. Lightning is not going to get a warning from the National Weather Service, only hail or wind, but lightning, of course, can still be deadly. So something you got to take very seriously. Bottom right-hand portion of your screen right now, we're continuing to watch the UNC Chapel Hill camera from WeatherStem, and that is where this storm is going to be in the next few moments. I know Frank's going to have to leave us here in just a moment. So Frank, any last closing thoughts?
Those of you over eastern North Carolina, the areas that are currently being affected by thunderstorms and off to the east, you are going to be under the threat for seeing severe storms as we go into the overnight hours. You want to have ways to be alerted. As always, have 2 ways to be alerted for severe weather. Tornado risk is very, very low tonight, so that's unlikely to be a problem, but better safe than sorry with that. If you have to be out and about, be ready to move indoors. If you have a job that keeps you outside for the overnight hours, or if you have to travel, be ready to find a sturdy shelter as these potentially severe thunderstorms and hail producers and maybe high wind producers move your way.
Yeah, that's real good advice, Frank. Thank you for that. Good to see you this week. We'll have to get together again sometime soon.
I hope so. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Frank. All right, continuing on here with a special edition of the Carolina Weather Group. If you're new to our channel, we do a weather podcast, Frank and I and some other guys every Wednesday night talking about weather, science, technology, and more from the Carolinas and beyond. And when storms come a knocking, here we are tracking them with you here on our regular podcast slot. While Frank was talking, we did get an extension of our northernmost severe thunderstorm. This is the one that's been bowing out. That's kind of the characteristic we've been using to describe this one. And so this is the severe thunderstorm warning now till 11:30. We've got lots of counties in this one, folks. It's Vance, Warren, Nash, Granville, Halifax, and Franklin. Again, it goes to 11:30 as we continue to track a Boeing line of severe thunderstorms near Henderson, and this is moving now to the southeast at 45 miles an hour. So this portion of the storm going a little bit faster than some of the other portions of the storm. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail are our main hazards. Again, our impacts, as we've been telling you, hail damage to vehicles is expected with wind damage to roofs, sidings, and trees. Rocky Mount is included in this, as is Nashville and also Red Oak, Spring Hope, and portions of I-95. So that's kind of now the biggest warning we have that goes for almost 50 miles here. And again, just kind of starts to knock on the Rocky Mount area. So lots of heads up right now if you're in this area to the north and east of Raleigh that this severe thunderstorm warning is coming over the course of the next 45 minutes with those wind threats to it. The one we're watching right now that has kind of been our main culprit tonight is the severe thunderstorm right now over portions of Durham and Chapel Hill. And we've got that live camera, the bottom side of your screen, that we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. Matter of fact, we can see on your screen right now some of the clouds begin to move in to the Chapel Hill area here that we're looking on the weather stem camera, and you can kind of see a lower hanging. We're not expecting a lot of rotation tonight with these storms. It doesn't look like that storm is rotating per se there, but you can see it being backlit by the lightning. But we're all watching here kind of that scary cloud moving right across the weather stem camera access here in Chapel Hill. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see how the rain is coming down, kind of lit up for us with the contrast real nice there against the stadium seating. You can see how that rain is coming down at a very strong angle. And again, this is also the storm that has been producing hail. So we'll watch to see if we get any hail mixed in with this storm. Again, we do have that scud, that low hanging cloud there, center of your screen moving from left to right as the storm moves southeast at 30 miles an hour or so. There's nothing, I don't think it's tornadic per se. That's not really a characteristic of these storms, but this is a supercell and it is possible. So that did certainly catch my eye there as it kind of came across the screen. But you can really see that rain now obscuring our view of the seats inside the stadium. We certainly have a drought, but this is going to be a lot of rain coming down very quickly. You can see lit up in the background, of course, the bell tower there at UNC Chapel Hill, as this severe thunderstorm now comes across the UNC Chapel Hill campus. This storm with a history of producing at least pea-size hail, capable of producing 1-inch size hail. And so we're going to be watching this camera for anything that we can report just by observing. Lots of folks, of course, in the path of this storm, not only here at UNC Chapel Hill, but of course across the entire region right now, because from the campus and beyond, we do now have this line of severe winds that are moving through downtown Durham, down Chapel Hill, and onto Raleigh in the course of the next few minutes. And so we're really grateful to be able to bring views to you like the one we have from WeatherStem at the bottom of the screen to give us a really good idea of what's happening on the ground. I'm going to switch the radar over to the terminal. This is going to be kind of the most high resolution we can get. And I think this is a little bit of what we were seeing when the cloud came across the screen. Again, I don't see anything too alarming in terms of rotation with that. I think that was just a scary looking cloud, or scud, as we like to call them, that just happened to kind of be in the right place at the right time as that camera was positioned there to show it to us. I'll be very curious to see when this is all said and done exactly how much rain we get with this storm. Looking back now at the terminal Doppler radar's reflectivity, you can see some of the heaviest rain right now is over this camera here in Chapel Hill, over the UNC campus. And so hopefully everyone is inside, hopefully out the message that this storm was coming so they could go ahead and get into shelter ahead of time. We have been watching, again, a hail core with this storm, and I want to show that to you here because we can only hope that it is beginning to weaken, but it is still holding together stubbornly as it makes its way now through the area. We are getting an MPing report from one of you at home of half-inch size hail. This would have been just outside of Carborough as the storm made its way closer to UNC. And so while we've been getting a lot of MPing reports confirming pea-size hail of a quarter inch, we do now have a half-inch size hail report associated with this main supercell that is making its way through the UNC Chapel Hill area. And that's where that camera in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen continues to give us a view right here of some of that really heavy rain that is coming down. Widening up our radar here, we can show you, of course, that we are getting those strong winds and very heavy rain moving through downtown Durham. So if we go north from Chapel Hill into Durham, radar estimates right now of 50 to almost 60 mile per hour winds associated with this storm. What is happening on the Chapel Hill camera? I think the camera may be reset. We are suddenly looking at, I think this is hail. I think this is the hail core. I think what we are seeing right now on the UNC Chapel Hill camera from WeatherStem, this is hail falling here on campus associated with the supercell thunderstorm that we have been tracking with you on the Carolina Weather Group. The reason the image is so bright is because we have stadium lighting that is just adjacent to where this camera is located, and the hail is reflecting that light back to us in a way that the raindrops were not doing. And that is why suddenly this image is so bright and prolific for us. It is showing us that hail core that we have been tracking on radar for you, which just moments ago we got confirmed from one of you at home is capable of producing at least half-inch size hail. The radar image updating right now showing us that that hail core is just about right over campus, and radar images are typically a minute or two behind. What is not a minute or two behind is this live camera that if I didn't know any better, I would tell you it's snowing at Chapel Hill. But that is hail coming down right now at Chapel Hill, completely obscuring our view of anything that was out in the distance. We can no longer see the bell tower. Camera readjusting now. We can see the bell tower as the camera, I think, is detecting less hail, kind of re-getting its grip here. But you can still see just how much rain is coming down. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. Our WeatherStem network across the Carolinas and beyond has shown us some amazing things over the time, but I don't know that I've seen anything quite like that. Jay, who's a freaking viewer of our show, most of those falling pellets, he says, being hail. I don't think he's ever seen anything quite like that before. That was absolutely crazy. Live images right here on the Carolina Weather Group, thanks to our friends at WeatherStem. That right there, the supercell, is kind of the main culprit that has been producing the most amount of hail as it makes its way across the Carolinas. And we've been tracking this hail core for you here since the 9 o'clock hour in the Carolina Weather Group when the National Weather Service first issued that warning. And it brought down trees near Reedsville, dropping hail as it made its way through Guilford County, dropping hail along Interstate 85 and 40. And now, as we've seen right here live over the campus of UNC Chapel Hill, dumping hail on the campus right now. It is not the only warning in the Carolinas, but this is the one that has the most prolific hail with it and also has just been dumping buckets of water on the campus. We can show you a little bit more information here as to what the WeatherStem station is picking up, because the WeatherStem station not only is giving us these pictures, but it does have a full array of sensors. Rain rate right now, almost 3 inches an hour. It just dropped down to 1 inch an hour, but the rain rate I saw there was at least 2.74 inches an hour, with the rain total at 40.44, coming up on half an inch in the last 24 hours. Of course, with most of that rain falling in the last probably 20 minutes, they've picked up at least half an inch of rain. That's enough to cause flooding in especially poor drainage areas here. I don't know if there's any way to know from this whether or not we got measurable hail, but with the amount of people on campus, I think we would be definitely getting reports in the next few minutes. 10-minute wind gusts maxing out here at least 30 miles an hour. And of course, also watching the lightning associated with this. Lots of lightning strikes over the course of the last few minutes. 66 bolts within the last 8 minutes. Sorry, that's 66 bolts within 8 miles in the last 30 minutes, according to the weather stem station there. It looks now like some of the heaviest of the storm is moving off to the east. Still certainly raining there, but not to the same intensity as we saw. Looking at radar right now, you can see what the radar saw as that hail core came over the camera. Again, the radar image that's on your screen right now, we only get updates every few minutes, and these are snapshots in time. The camera is live. So the radar image here showing us probably what we were seeing on the camera in the last 5 to 10 minutes or so. Absolutely bonkers. This hail core is moving off to the south and the east. So what you just saw on your camera is going to be coming into the Raleigh area over the course of the next 30 to 40 minutes if it holds together. And it has been holding together for the last 60 to 90 minutes. So it has really been holding its own. We are, of course, watching another severe thunderstorm warning off to the north in the east of Raleigh. That has small hail associated with it, but its main threat has been the bowing of winds. And you can see the way they just dip down there, how deep that bow is, as that now makes its Pittsburgh and Youngsville. We're watching for 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds. So that storm there has the possibility of clipping northern Raleigh as it makes its way towards Rocky Mount. The storm that we've been in Chapel Hill and also extends back up into Durham is going to clip more of central Raleigh, RDU, and the NC State campus over the course of the next 30 to 40 minutes or so. So radar estimates right now showing us of about 40, 45, 50 mile per hour winds closer to you, closer to Gorman, in the Durham area right now, associated with this line of storms that really just came together at about the 9 o'clock hour tonight. Take a look back over at the camera at the bottom right and actually see a very interesting cloud making its way across the campus here too, just kind of associated with this line of storms, associated with this cold front that is really pushing all of this on through. I don't think there's anything particularly scary about this cloud. It just looks kind of cool, and wanted to point that out to you here. We're going to watch to see what we get on social, in our chat from the National Weather Service, because if that storm produced as much hail as I think it did, as it made its way across the campus, I'm sure lots of people saw that, and will be able to tell us about it using social media and other means here. We're going to watch also power outages and checking traffic cameras, to see if we start to get any reports of traffic incidents related to that storm coming through. The same supercell that we've been telling you about, which has been producing that hail core, also does have a history of producing wind damage, bringing down some power lines. We saw that back towards Stoneville before it made its way into Greensboro area a little bit earlier. And so we'll just watch to see if we do get any reports of down power lines or tree branches or anything like that. Right now, not seeing a ton. I am just now starting to see reports from Duke Energy of maybe about 500 outages or so before the storm got to Chapel Hill. I can show you that here on the screen right now. And this would be right here if I push this button. There you go, computer. Thanks so much. So we do have a power outage here. Dairy Land Road seems to cut through a lot of this, back towards Orange Grove Road to the north of White Cross. Maybe about 500 Duke Energy customers currently without power. Possible that other power companies, cooperatives might also service this area. Duke Energy kind of just giving us a snapshot here of the biggest power grid in our network as that storm came on through. So we'll keep a close eye on that. as one of the impacts to the storm could certainly be a loss of power. We do have a comment that the cloud near the bell tower looks like a tornado. I don't think so. I appreciate the second set of eyes. I don't. It's certainly low. It's certainly scary. I don't know that I see anything rotating, at least from this vantage point. There is definitely low hanging clouds as a part of that cloud deck. I think it's just Scud, but we'll watch it. We'll watch it. So, Jay asking, does the Duke Energy website show when an individual reports were made so that it can give us a sense of what happened throughout the timeline of a storm cell? Does it show us when? It will tell us when the outage was first reported, or at least kind of the conglomerate. So I can click on this whole outage area and see that it was first reported. Come on, make the full screen at 10:35. So I can't do individual houses, but I can do by outage. So yes, this came in at 10:35 to answer your question, Jay. So yeah, probably seems pretty likely associated with the storm cell that came through. What I'm going to do here is pull the radar back up, kind of get our bearings again, and see if we need adjusting camera angles as this line continues to move into the east. It's a little disjointed. There are some gaps in the warning right now. More or less, I think everyone in the greater triangle region needs to know that we do have a line of severe storms moving off to the south and the east at about 30 miles an hour or take. Again, rain is welcome. We will take rain. But it's the hail and the lightning that is concerning. And also, like, where did all that rain go that just fell in Chapel Hill? The soil is very hard. It's very dry. It's not going to necessarily soak things in like it would outside of a drought. We're pretty deeply into a drought. And also, the storm drains are going to have to be ready to do a lot of that because that came down very quickly. All right. Thank you for your service, WeatherStem camera at Chapel Hill. I'm going to go over now to the WeatherStem camera at NC State in Raleigh. And we're going to do that all over again. Probably this angle. I'm going to guess this angle. I think this is where we were seeing the lightning before using the same Raleigh camera when we checked in on it. Interestingly, that I'm not seeing it right now. What that means, I don't know for sure. How is our hail core looking? Is our hail core holding together? Are the people of Raleigh, can they anticipate any sort of associated with this supercell? Mr. Radar, what do you think? Mr. Radar says that hail core is holding together. We had a moment right on about there where it got smaller. I was hoping it was going to continue to get smaller, but no, it cycled back up. It cycled back up again, and we are arching just a tad south more than east. And you can kind of see that because the storm enters the polygon about, at least the hail core does, and now it's back down here. So we are turning a little bit more south than east. As Frank mentioned before, kind of pretty typical supercell characteristic, if you will. And that might, by margin, if we can get it to go just a little bit further south, it might keep it a little less out of downtown, but that wouldn't be good news for Apex. It's going to be bad news for somebody. Now, in this latest radar scan that has come in while I'm talking to you, you will notice that the white part of the radar return for the hail core is now missing. Is it going to come back like it did before? I don't know yet. We will find out together in the next few minutes. But what had me hoping that maybe the storm was starting to grow weaker is less lightning returns on the NC State camera than we saw as the storm approached Chapel Hill. It's also less lightning on the same NC State camera than we saw earlier when the storm was 50 miles out. Now the storm is closer, and I'm seeing less lightning, and it's about 10 miles out. So maybe it's losing a little bit of its oomph. But we do still very much have a severe thunderstorm warning that goes for the next 12 minutes. So we'll keep a close eye on that. I'm really just basing this off of one snapshot in time in the last 100 seconds. So it'd be curious to see what happens when we get another radar image update, to see what we think might be going on with that storm. But it has been a very persistent supercell as it made its way through Orange County, as it's made its way through Chapel Hill. We did see on radar opportunity to get 1.5 inch and a half size hail. We are seeing a gradual trend down of that hail as it makes its way to the south and east. Hopefully that continues. Lots of pea-size hail reports with this storm, but at least one MPing report for, oh wow, hang on. This is a new MPing report. Just came in. It's dated 10:48 p.m. 1 inch size hail, quarter size hail. That's what we have been warning for, the potential of, and it did in fact happen here, just outside Carborough, just before we saw all that madness on the WeatherStab camera. And so that is real fascinating. I was going to mention the half-inch size hail report from about that same time frame, 10:46, but 10:48, somebody else was reporting 1 inch size hail. So that's probably bad news for somebody out there, probably multiple somebodies out there. But we're gonna hang with you here a couple more minutes on the Carolina Weather Group, and we're gonna wait to see what the storm does as it approaches Raleigh. Not to be left out, we do still have a severe thunderstorm warning that goes for another 25 minutes for Vance, Warren, Nash, Granville, and Halifax, Franklin counties for a storm that continues off to the south and the east. The threat there is mostly wind driven, because it's got this bow, and you can kind of see that right here on the velocity where the radar is detecting the difference between winds moving away and winds towards the radar site. We got that stark contrast and that bow, that part where it kind of curves out there. That helps the winds kind of really push on out as they're coming on through, and helps with the straight line wind damage. And so you might be seeing some of that right now in Lewisburg or Centerville, Youngsville, coming in Wake Forest probably as we speak. And so Nashville, Rocky Mount, you're in that warning. I-95 is in that warning, which goes until 11:30. Again, I've been giving a lot of attention to the supercell, the persistent supercell that we've been tracking for the last 2 hours, that is now making its way into the Raleigh area. And I think in the morning hours, we'll see even more pictures of hail. Jay saying never before knew what a radar bow is, and hopefully we've helped show you what that is here tonight on the Carolina Weather Group. So happy to help inform and also educate a bit, especially since I know so many of you have radar apps at home, and helping you see a little bit of what it is that you are seeing when you look at those colors on the radar app there. So many of us now have in the palm of our hand. Just check in social media here to see what type of hail reports we maybe have, especially from Chapel Hill, where I would think lots of people maybe saw things. You can tweet them at us. You can tweet them at the National Weather Service, and they will turn those into storm reports. So that's super helpful for everybody. And so checking right now to see what folks are trying to send to the National Weather Service on X, and not seeing a whole lot, which is very interesting to me. Don't know what that means. More to come on that, I guess. This rain will be beneficial. It will help. We've been in a drought. We haven't seen a whole lot of rain. It's not going to fix the drought, but it is going to kind of give everybody a moment's relief. If you pick up half a full of rain tonight, that's the good news with what's happening here tonight. It's the severe aspect of it that is unwelcomed. I'll probably phrase that. Tornado threat tonight is very low. It's not zero, but if you live in central or eastern North Carolina, even a few of the Carolina counties I was discussing earlier with Frank Strait and Ricky Matthews, we were seeing the ability that maybe some of this money could go into York or Lancaster or Chesterfield, kind of those sandhill, upstate sandhill counties that kind of border North Carolina there during the overnight hours. Not yet seeing that on radar. Right now, the furthest south we got is like Rockingham, Hamlet, Red Springs, the North Carolina side. We could see by the morning hours more rain moving back across South Carolina. So by the time all this is said and done, we'll have kind of pockets of rain all over the place. But right now, the intense storms have been coming here in the late evening hours. The first warning of the day, 9 o'clock, associated with this same storm. So this same storm, if you're just joining us, that is coming, it was responsible for all these damage reports that you're seeing in here as that storm moved to the south and to the east. And so we watched live as the storm came through Chapel Hill and dumped hail. And now we're watching as the storm approaches Raleigh, Cary, Apex, Morrisville, and RDU, if I've got my bearings right. Yeah, I think RDU would be right in here. So conditions at RDU probably are pretty tough right now as this storm rolls on through. The National Weather Service has a severe thunderstorm warning out for another 6 minutes. I'll be curious to see if they to include more of NC State and more of downtown Raleigh. We are watching right now on a WeatherStam camera at NC State University the approaching thunderstorm that has been marching in to the northeast of this camera as the storm moves south and east. That is kind of the leading edge. That may, in fact, kind of be a shelf cloud associated with this storm. Again, the tornado threat is not zero, not our main culprit. Our culprit with this cell has been hail. We have seen heavy rain. We have seen gusty winds. We have also seen lightning. There are little appendages in that cloud deck that are kind of poking on down. Could something rotate? Yes. Is it likely to happen? No. But we'll keep a cross eye on it. These cameras help us see what's happening where you are, where your loved ones may be, what you may be seeing outside of your window. And so they're a really nice tool to have at our disposal. And these WeatherStem cameras all come with weather units. As we saw when that storm went through Chapel Hill, we were looking at rain rates and total rainfall. Not only are they giving us pictures, but they're giving us scientific data as well, too. Super helpful. I was going to say all is quiet. That's not true. There's lots on radar, lots of probably thunder out there. All quiet in terms of I have not yet heard from the National Weather Service on what they intend to do with this warning that is now set to expire in 4 minutes at 11:15. We're going to find out together here in the next few minutes. I'm going to keep this radar picture for you on the screen, but also make our webcam pretty big because, again, you can see the shelf cloud with the approaching supercell making its way into the Raleigh area right now. It too looks like it has a little bit of a kind of a bow on it, a little bit of curvature on it. The winds right now, based on radar, we do kind of have a line, if you will, of winds that, again, also do kind of bow like this, that are coming out of Durham, coming out of Chapel Hill into Raleigh. And so those winds are making their way into Raleigh right now. Radar estimates of about at 30 miles an hour. That's gusty. It's not technically severe. Severe would be closer to 60. The National Weather Service is going to have to make a decision here in the next few moments on whether or not to extend this warning. This storm has been persistent. It has been a thorn in our side all night long. So there is some question in my mind on whether or not we will see the warning extended, even if it's borderline, just because it has such an intense history. The good news is it does look like that hail core continued to weaken. After it came through Chapel Hill, we saw now numerous radar scans where the white disappears, the red disappears, and the last scan has yellow as kind of its most intense um, hail that the radar is detecting. And we're real close right now to the radar site itself. So we're getting some pretty good data because we're near the radar site in Raleigh, which is super helpful to know what's happening really low to the ground. The closer you are to the radar, the closer to the ground you're looking. And so we're in a good position right now to kind of keep an eye on that. So we're going to hang out with you here for the next just couple minutes. Wait to see if the Weather Service decides to extend that warning or drop that warning. The fact that they haven't issued it yet is interesting. It is now 11:13. If you're watching live with me, the warning is set to expire at 11:15. The National Weather Service does seem to be playing a bit of catch up on their storm reports because I can hear them coming into my ear. I can see them mapping on the screen here. We now have numerous 1-inch storm reports from the Chapel Hill area. I have at least 3 reports of 1-inch size hail as that storm approached UNC Chapel Hill, as it approached Carborough. These came in at about the 10:45, 10:50 time frame as that supercell thunderstorm came through, dumping 1-inch size hail. That is, as I've seen so far tonight, the biggest hail has been 1-inch size hail reports. And so we saw that live on the camera. We're getting verification now from you at home using MPing and also National Weather Service issuing those local storm reports. And so those are being populated onto the map as we speak, as we begin to get our heads wrapped around the storm damage that was associated with this persistent supercell thunderstorm that for over 2 hours now has been marching across portions of North Carolina. We're about a minute away from this thunderstorm warning expiring, and I have not heard anything further from the National Weather Service as to whether or not it will be getting another warning associated with it. A warning means the storm is or is capable of producing 60-mile-per-hour winds or quarter size hail, quarter as in the size of the coin, so 1 inch, those 1-inch amounts that we're talking about. If they don't issue a warning, the storm could still have gusty 20 or 30-mile-per-hour winds, pea-size hail. They just don't think it'll be at the severe criteria level, but there is still that substandard level where you still could see a pretty decent thunderstorm come rolling through Raleigh here in the next few minutes. Beyond that, we do still have a storm to the north and east of Raleigh. That warning goes at least another 14 minutes or so. For storm has been tracking now to the south and the east. It is no longer in Vance and Granville counties, but the warning does continue for Warren, Nash, Halifax, and Franklin counties, and that is primarily a wind-driven threat associated with that storm. So it is now 11:15. The polygon remains on my screen, but does show as expired. And so we are still going to get a thunderstorm rolling into Raleigh here in the next few minutes. Sub-severe is what we think this storm is going to be capable of. These storms are going to continue to march off to the east. We could see new storms begin to pop up in places, as we've kind of seen in Rockingham, Pinehurst, Fort Bragg area, sub-severe. The main headline tonight has been this persistent severe thunderstorm, the supercell thunderstorm that has just dropped off as the storm approaches Raleigh. It has weakened below severe criteria. Still going to be pretty impactful for you if you're in that Raleigh area, but lucky for you that it doesn't seem to be capable any longer of producing those 1-inch size hail reports that we did see to your neighbors over in Chapel Hill. We also have hail reports extending all the way back up towards the Virginia line, with Reedsville coming in with wind damage associated with this storm as well too. If you are finding us for the very first time here tonight, welcome. Thanks for finding us. My name is James Brierton. This is the Carolina Weather Group. We do a weekly podcast every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, talking about weather, science, technology, and more from across the Carolinas. And of course, we also do storm coverage, just like you've seen here tonight, when storm conditions warrant. On our YouTube channel, we also have this thing called the Carolina Weather Net that provides real-time updates for you on storms around the clock, even when I'm not sitting here. It will continue to keep you informed as to what's happening across the Carolinas. And that's a little bit of what I alluded to tonight when I say I'm hearing storm reports in my ear. That is our Carolina WeatherNet bot reading out warnings, reading out storm reports. And so in the next few minutes, if you're watching with us on YouTube, that's what I'm going to take you on over to. I'm going to take you back over to the Carolina WeatherNet all night long. It'll be tracking live radar, sky cams, and alerts for you from the National Weather Service to keep you informed. And that's a way that we can keep you up to date with severe weather information. But as we always preach on the show, have multiple ways to receive weather warnings. One of those ways could be the Carolina WeatherNet, NOAA Weather Radio, apps on your phone, broadcast media, have multiple ways. In case one of them were to fail, you're going to want multiple ways in order to receive those warnings. We'll bring you updates on our social media platforms as we continue to get updates on the storm damage associated with the storms that came rolling on through tonight. But until then, I'm James Brierton from Charlotte, North Carolina. Thanks for joining me for tonight's special edition of our show. We'll see you back here real soon. And again, if you're on YouTube, stay tuned. We're going to take you automatically over to our Carolina WeatherNet for continuing storm coverage.